We will now take up the items pulled from the consent. Clerk, please proceed.
Yes, the first item that was pulled was item 53. This was an ordinance that was introduced on March 19th, 2019, item 331. It was unanimous. These are the proposed amendments to the San Diego Municipal Code and the City Clerk's admin guidelines related to elections. Division 2 nominations, Division 5 ballots for measures, and Division 10 initiative. As folks will recall, these were some relatively straightforward changes. They were minor in nature. They came out of rules unanimously. We made a change at council to make the public outreach more robust. We do have quite a number of public speakers in opposition today. Mr. Lutz, why don't you come forward? You have seated time because it's the second reading of an ordinance. Folks will have a minute apiece, but Mr. Lutz has time seated by Arturo Torres. Is Mr. Torres present? If you just raise your hand so I can see that you're present. Thank you, sir. Josephine Piarulli. Thank you, Madge Torres. Thank you, Eve Lee. And then Susan Schneider. Is Susan here? Susan, you said you were donating your time to Eve, but she's giving her time to raise, so I'm assuming it'll go to Mr. Lutz. That will give you 6 minutes, Mr. Lutz.
Good morning. My name is Ray Lutz. I'm with Citizens Oversight. We've done quite a bit of work on overseeing elections and looking at election integrity, and we have a big problem in this county. You guys are one of the most important clients to the county for their work in processing the elections. Now, in 2016, we discovered that they were omitting 285,000 ballots from the audit. I'd like to make that clear with you. Here's 1,500 batches of about 800 ballots each under this little cup. Here's 700 batches of about 400 ballots each under that cup. 700 batches under this cup, which is a later vote by mail, and then the provisional. So we got the early vote by mail, the polling place ballots, and the later vote by mail that are received around election but are not processed yet. So this is about 30, 30, 30, 10 in terms of the proportion of ballots that come in. Now what the election registrar did was say, we're only going to include these 2 cups in our audit, and we're not going to include these other 2 cups. Now if you were on the playground as a kid and you were looking for a piece of candy and your friend said, I'm going to put it under one of these 4 cups, but you can't look under these 2. Guess where the candy's going to be? Of course, they're going to put it under the ones you can't look at. In election code, it says that they're supposed to include the vote by mail ballots. Very clearly, this was negotiated by Deborah Bowen in 2006 in the new laws that were put forward at that time, because the vote by mail ballots weren't included at all. So they said, now you have to include them. He said, no, I'm not going to include this cup here. It would have only cost $3,200 to do the counting. Instead, he went to court for a 3-day trial, then lost, then went to an appeal, was going to lose that too, but then partnered with CACEO, Dean Logan from LA, to change the law. So now it's legal to not include these cups. 723 batches of ballots will not be audited, and that's what this Registrar of Voters is doing in the last election and is planning to do in the next election. Now, you have some changes to your election rules. They're a little bit different than what I'm suggesting here. But we implore with you, in my letter you can see the exact things that we're suggesting. The city should demand that the county include this other huge expense of $3,200 and include all of the vote by mail ballots in the audit. And I think the provisionals too. There's only 23 batches to include in their selection. They choose 1% of these. That's it. And check them. But if 1% is enough of a threat so that no one's going to make those changes under that cup. The other thing that he does, which is astronomically absurd, is he whites out the ballots on a systematic basis. He applies whiteout. He admitted to this under oath. He continues to do it with no procedure, written procedure, no logging or reporting. So we don't know how widespread it is, even though we see him do it all the time. It's against the law to modify ballots, and yet this registrar continues to do it. Now, I don't know why this city is not demanding that this county does it right. Citizens Oversight is the one that's been parading this forward.
Mr. Luck, if you can just pause for a second. If you can please speak to the item that is in front of us. If there's additional comments that are related to elections, you can make those comments on non-public agenda item. So just talk to the item in front of us.
Well, I am. I'm saying that this item should be expanded such that it includes these issues that I'm speaking to today. And if it haven't, I'm sorry that I was not awake enough to get into the prior readings, but I have a right to speak to elections. And if you say it's constrained to this narrow boundary, I object. I will not restrict my comments to the narrow boundary that you've set up. This is about elections, and I want to continue with my time. Are you going to deny me my time? Can I finish my remarks? Thank you. Now, I don't know why it is that the city of San Diego is not aware of what's going on with the county. Again, why isn't this within this item? Why isn't your city clerk demanding that this county do it the right way? Why aren't you watching these lawsuits that have gone on? Why are you allowing AB 840 to go through and allow him to continue to break the obvious rule that you have to, even the kids on the playground know. I've explained it to you. You have to look under these cups, or you can have election fraud. It only takes 100 of these to flip an election out of the 723 that they're not looking at. They could easily flip it. So, you know, I'm asking this city, you can organize your agenda any way you want. We're here to demand that you take a look at what's going on with the county. We've done our job. We've taken them to court. We've gone through the appeals. We watched AB 840 go through in a disgusting manner. What has San Diego City done? Nothing. You're passing provisions to some sort of signature thing here for nominations, unaware of the real damage going on by this registrar of voters. So yeah, I say pull this back. You can vote this through if you want and then put something else through if you think that's more convenient. I don't care. We've got to get this city working on this item. My time is up and I thank you very much.
That concludes the public speakers on item 53.
Thank you. I'll make the motion to move item 53 forward. Is there a second? You have a second? Please vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
That passes unanimously. The next item that was pulled from
Our vibrant culture. Again, thank you.
Eve Lee is our next speaker, followed by Josephine Piarulli, followed by Hud Collins, followed by Patricia Gracian, followed by Madge Torres.
Hello, my name is Eve Lee, and I'd like to discuss our current registrar, Michael Vu. He has been involved in an election fraud lawsuit in Ohio for rigging the 2004 presidential election, and 6 weeks after the case in Ohio, San Diego County recruited this man to oversee our elections here. Since our registrar, Michael Vu, has come to San Diego, he has been involved in 2 election lawsuits, one in Chula Vista, where provisional ballots not being counted swayed a very close race, and the other a huge lawsuit regarding the 2016 presidential primary. The massive amount of evidence against his office includes discredited machines, ballot tampering, and a failure to properly comply with ballot audits. Though the lawsuit resulted in a just conviction, it was overturned in Superior Court, and now Michael Vu still has a job. This is unacceptable. We are asking you to demand San Diego County to allow citizens oversight regarding ballot audits to ensure that they are done properly. We ask that you demand San Diego County prohibit whiting out ballots and all ballot tampering of any kind. We ask that you demand San Diego County prohibit the use of shredder trucks and to keep the ballots for 22 months as they are required to do. We ask that you use your position as an elected official to represent us in this matter. We demand the immediate removal and replacement of Michael Vu before he is able to rig another presidential election. We will not back down from this issue. We will not yield. If it is our patriotic duty to participate in elections, then it is our patriotic duty and yours to fight for election integrity. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine Piarulli, followed by Hud Collins, followed by Patricia Gracian, followed by Madge Torres, followed by Bob Kaczewski.
Good morning. It's my first time addressing this wonderful city council. I'm very pleased to be here, and I thank you for your attention. Does democracy matter to any of you? Because what I witnessed in the 2016 primaries was not democracy. I went to precincts and observed provisional ballots being handed out like lollipops, and that was not just me, other precincts also. When we went to the registrar of voters office for the following month every day, we observed workers whiting out ballots. When I asked the supervisor, George, what was happening, he advised me that people were voting out of party, and so they were whiting the ballot out. When I asked if the voters were notified, he said no. So in effect, what happened was people went to go vote for their candidate of choice on election day and literally had their votes whited out later in secret in a back room. That is not democracy. It is against the law to alter or change ballots. I believe that's election code 18567 and 18567A. When people go to vote and they are not properly registered, they should be told at the precinct then and there that they can't vote. They should not be given a placebo. I am outraged that this illegal practice of whiting out ballots is occurring, and I demand that the laws be enforced. I want this illegal practice of whiting out ballots to end. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Patricia Gracian, Madge Torres, Bob Kazuski, Dennis St. Onge.
Good morning. My name is Patricia Gracian. I'm here to formally request the City Council to prosecute Registrar of Voters Michael Vu for maliciously running a fraudulent 2016 presidential primary election in which he invalidated voter intent to hundreds, if not thousands, number unknown of ballots, because the citizens are not allowed to properly view the proceedings. These ballots, you have at least two people here who can swear under oath that we saw this happening, that we saw the ballots being, the tampered with ballots where voter intent had been destroyed, being counted in the elections. I do not see how we can continue to allow this man and his staff members to do this thing to our elections, and we are suffering the consequences now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Madge Torres is our next speaker. Ms. Torres will be followed by Bob Kazuski, followed by Dennis St. Onge.
When we can't trust the results of our elections, then there's no point to voting. And I try to register voters all the time, and a lot of times people decline to register to vote because they say it doesn't matter, and I can't really argue with them. I think even though I vote, that I don't really know if my vote is counted or if it's counted the way I voted. So I think it's important that we have election transparency, that we do a proper audit, that the City Council exert its authority and its influence to require Michael Vu to do a complete audit of the elections, especially the upcoming primary. We saw in the 2016 primary that the results that were announced on election day, that Hillary had won by 16%, were based on early mail-in votes, but that the actual vote on election day was 16% Bernie Sanders won. So there was a 32-point spread, and that's just not statistically possible. So I would like very much for Michael Vu to be accountable to an audit, and that the city require it, and that you influence the county board of supervisors to require an audit as well. And if at all possible, find a way to get rid of him because he's not honest. Thank you.